Peace and blessings. Change Agent Cooper. Like this channel, subscribe to this channel, click the bell for notifications. Be sure to click the bell for notifications because I got a lot to say and I'm going to say it. Got a lot of experience, strength, and hope. I'm going to share it. For me not to, well, that would be blasphemy. This morning, I want to talk about some components of the ecosystem. Ecosystem, man. So, I adopted the lingo ecosystem with the work that I do with, that I've done over the past couple of years that has been supported by the Appalachian Regional Commission. Salute to the Appalachian Regional Commission for them valuing, innovative approaches to addressing the opioid epidemic and its impact on the economy. I'm so grateful for their approach because their approach is what really provided a platform, you dig, for a person like me with lived experience as a service recipient and a service provider. So first off, salute Appalachian Regional Commission, ARC. But I first heard the lingo ecosystem when I was attending a meeting in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Oh yeah, in the countryside, Appalachia strong. Shout out to Wilkes Recovery Revolutions, Devin, Walker, and Ariana, some of my friends down there. But when I was at this listening session at Wilkes Community College, I remember them saying ecosystem. The ARC leadership had mentioned ecosystem, and an ecosystem is basically a system that includes different partners, right? When they say ecosystem, like for example, when we talk about the recovery to work ecosystem, we're thinking about, folks that are looking to get into the workforce opportunities and what have you, that have substance use disorder, opioid use disorder, and like who all are the players, who all is serving this individual, who all is needed in order to better serve or better include this population of people who are struggling with opioid use disorder. And so when you look at ecosystem and who are the pieces, the players in the ecosystem, you think of Department of Health and Human Services. You think of probation and parole. You think of the American Job Centers, or NC Works in North Carolina is what we have. You think of vocational rehabilitation. You think of the workforce boards. You think of the community-based organizations. You think of your local management entities, aka management care organizations. Some people use the acronyms LME or MCO, like Via Health. You think of your community colleges, right? You think of your employers, maybe even some staffing agencies. But these are all different contributors to the ecosystem. They could be serving the person in one way or another, and each component it has a valuable contribution. So I want you to just let that word valuable sink in, because see, for the ecosystem to be effective, each partner must value each other's contribution to the ecosystem. You dig what I'm saying? You have to value. So the probation and parole has to value the community college. The community college has to value the community-based organization. The management care organization, or LME MCO, has to value the workforce board's contribution, so on and so forth. This video I bring up now because one thing that I am seeing, and I've been around for a hot minute, y'all. I've been doing this work for a while now. Shout out to SAMHSA, shout out to the National Association of Community Health Workers, shout out to CASM, community healing through activism and strategic mobilization. Shout out to Just Leadership USA, and I mention all of these players because these are all people that are from outside of my area that have amplified my voice and put me in a position. You dig what I'm saying? Put me in a position as a facilitator, or as a information sharer, so to say, of how to build an effective ecosystem to serve certain underdogs. And I love to use the word underdogs as I talk about equity, because I will not let people water down the word equity, because when we're fighting against inequities and we're fighting for equity, we're simply fighting for the underdog, and that underdog can be black, brown, white, yellow, You know what I'm saying? It can be poor, rich. It's just different things that can make a person an underdog. You feel me? But so as people start to value that and people start to put me in a position to amplify my voice, I've been able to meet more and more people from across the state and even across the nation. I ain't even gonna stunt, you feel me? And it's a beautiful thing. And so as this is going on, I'm also seeing some trends, and I'm seeing that people are starting to have these meetings and these listening sessions and formulate these committees and task forces and things of that nature, and they start to have these this mindset of an ecosystem, because a lot of times they're starting to take on some work that they haven't done. Nobody has successfully taken that opioid use disorder monster out. Nobody has successfully took it out, because it's a beast. Like when you start talking about opioid use disorder, I'm gonna tell you right now, that thing ain't no joke. That thing ain't no joke for real. I done seen it take a lot of people out. You hear me? And so as we start to come up with these approaches to better serve the people and everything, you start to see these groups and people in these groups and everything. So and you got different stakeholders in the groups, like the ecosystem. And so as I'm seeing this happen and I'm being in some of these meetings, one of the things that I have noticed is that there are times whenever certain contributors of the ecosystem don't value what the other contributor brings to the table. And you got to be very careful with that, ladies and gentlemen. Be very careful with that, because for the ecosystem to be effective and sustained, you have to have a good line of communication. You have to have respect, and you have to value what each person brings to the table. Because if you don't, then you will mess around and have a valuable component exit. And we can't afford to do that right now. If we're really, really talking about helping people and prioritizing fighting for the underdogs and helping these people stay alive and stay with their families, we have to go at this humbly, with integrity, but also with the spirit of compromise and a spirit of togetherness. You know what I'm saying? That respect is needed, though. I'm telling you, man, because like an experience that I've had is like, as a person with lived experience, and more of a grassroots community-based organization leader now. I've worked inside the system and I've worked outside the system, and I'll tell you, the things that I was able to accomplish outside of the system were life-changing. And some of the mindsets that I was able to help shift. Wow, it's a beautiful thing. And that happened when I was inside the system. So the biggest piece that I could bring to the table when I was working inside the system was working on mindsets of people who had been working for the system for a long time, helping to shift their mindsets. And then the biggest thing that I could do outside of the system was just certain tasks, certain things that I could do that didn't have as much quote unquote red tape. But I'll say, man, both contributions were valuable. So when I worked inside the system, what I was doing to shift the mindsets of system level people was valuable. And what I do outside of the system, raising funds and speaking truth to power and challenging processes and stuff like that, is just as valuable. And so I've been in and out. So when I say this, just know there's no favoritism here for inside or outside the system, because you need both. You know what I'm saying? We need criminal legal system folks at the table. We need workforce development folks at the table, economic development folks at the table, housing providers at the table. We need a DMV can be at the table. It's like when you start talking about fighting for a specific underdog, especially as it relates to mass incarceration, or if we're talking about substance use disorder, opioid use disorder, you have to have the mindset. I'm telling you, you have to have the mindset that I can't do it all by myself. You have to have the mindset of, I like to call it the Megazord mindset. And anybody that knows about the Power Rangers, that's like the perfect example of the ecosystem, by the way. But you have to have that Megazord mindset in order to take on these big monsters. And anybody that sees Power Rangers, you know, whenever the big monster comes, all of the Power Rangers come together and they form the Megazord, which is a very big machine that fights off the big monsters. But the Megazord can't be created if they didn't come together. And so you have to have that Megazord mindset whenever you're operating as an ecosystem. And a lot of what we're facing today requires an ecosystem, because if it could be solved by system level folks alone, then we wouldn't be talking about racism being a systemic racism being a public health crisis, systemic oppression. If the system could do it by itself, systemic oppression wouldn't be a public health crisis. And if community-based organizations could do it by themselves, then they would be able to make decisions about resources that only can come from the system. So, I mean, then that's unrealistic. I mean, so both parties are needed, but we have to have sit-downs and we have to be in the same rooms and we have to value what we all bring to the table. And we have to have that same end goal. And the end goal is healing, wellness, you feel me? Addressing social determinants of health. And you notice even on that wheel from Healthy People USA, you notice they have access to quality healthcare, they have access to quality education, they have economic stability, they have environment, neighborhoods and built environments, and they have social and community context. And there's different players of the ecosystem in each one of those, you know. And you start looking at behavioral health, you know, we can't afford to leave out behavioral health folks as we're talking about workforce development for someone who's never been able to hold a job because they're behavioral health issues. You feel me? So yeah, man, I wanted to go in a little bit this morning just talking about that. And I'm going to try to continue to put out more and more content on the ecosystem stuff as I encounter issues and successes, because I don't want to just be complaining. I'm not a complainer. I'm not just a complainer. Don't get it twisted. Like, we got solutions in place right now, baby. And they going in. You hear me? And I'll say this and I'll shut up. I'll give you one clear example of an ecosystem approach that has led to a life-changing situation. There's a black male got released from prison, 33 years old, did like 12 years, didn't know anything about WIOA, didn't know anything about American Job Centers, didn't know about any resources that was available. All he knew was he needed a job, but I knew he didn't have any skills. So on my end, being a community health worker, you know, we're resource navigators. We're more kind of in the middle. We're not workforce development. We're not behavioral health. We're like a mixture. We're like a hybrid. You feel me? And so I got me and my team, we got him connected, helped him get his vital records, obtained his vital records, took him, provided transportation to get him to the American Job Center, which is NC Works in North Carolina, helped get his paperwork turned in, his documents uploaded, helped him upload his documents into the system, identified an employer that we was rocking with. The employer rocks with us the long way. Shout out to PLI, because they know we do our job in vetting individuals and we send them quality candidates. And so boom, this guy ends up with an on-the-job training contract. But it wouldn't have been possible without the workforce board, but it also wouldn't have been possible without the community health workers that was navigating those resources for this gentleman who had just got out of prison from doing like 12 years. You feel me? So that's just one example, and there's many more to come. And my challenge for you, listener, is to adopt that mindset of an ecosystem, the Megazord mindset, to understand that each player has valuable contributions to the wellness of the individual. And the more people we see get well, the more it will be a ripple effect. You dig what I'm saying? Because people will see that it's possible. And the more people that see that it's possible, the more that hope is empowering others to do the same thing. And the more others do the same thing, the more healing we going to see in the world. And it starts with you. It starts with me. My name is Change Agent Cooper. I'm not the answer, but I'm for damn sure the alternative. CHW, baby.